I'm not supposed to be here, but this does give me an opportunity to talk about Titanfall 1 and how it somehow came back into the spotlight. Before I even start talking about Titanfall 1, I think we have to talk about the Titanfall franchise as a whole to really get a perspective as to what it is, where it's from, and why it coming back in a semi-accessible manner actually matters. Now let me get something very fucking clear. I am not here to tell you the trials and tribulations of how this game launched, how the entire franchise was basically doomed from the start, or why you should even care about it. No, I'm just here to talk about one of my favorite games, how it feels to play, and how much I enjoy that it's back. So, if that's not what you're here for, then I'm sorry, you can get out. Also, if you're wondering why, of all things, I chose to do this voiceover with a VR chat avatar, it is because one guy, one singular guy, said, and I quote, "Your opinion is disregarded because anime profile picture." So I am going to double down as hard as I can because that comment made me physically laugh, and I think that shit's funny. So, ignoring the fact that that guy absolutely hates any sort of anime profile picture, the movement of Titanfall and just Titanfall 1 as a whole has aged less like a fine wine and more like a tart wine. It's still good, but it leaves that little bit of an aftertaste in your mouth that kind of makes you go, wow, that was great. I don't know if I'd want to do it again, though. And I feel like the first way to start that off with is the movement. Now, a lot of people complain about Titanfall 1's lack of movement, and I will contest that. It does have a decent bit of movement even without sliding. It has wall running, it has double jumping, and you can still chain your momentum by hopping along the ground and continuously jumping, which is lovely. It adds that extra little bit of skill, but also slows the game down enough to where you are able to immediately identify things and not go at a million miles per hour, which can be disorienting for some people. Of course, I don't know why I'm saying this. I'm a notorious fucking movement nerd, and I absolutely love going fast as fuck. But it is nice to have that at least little casual bit to it, so that way some people can get into it rather easily. And I found myself often having some of the most fun fights with players who actually engage with the movement to their fullest. Sometimes you'll just get easy kills on people standing still. So having players utilize the movement and actually engage with it is really fun, and I love it so much. So, yeah, the movement of Titanfall 1 may not be as fleshed out as the movement of Titanfall 2, but what it does have is that rustic sort of 2011 2014 feel of old games in that sort of era, which personally a lot of people aren't a fan of, but I love. And I think the movement is something that really sets it apart as a different title in the Titanfall series. If you want to go hardcore movement shooter, you have Titanfall 2. If you want a more gritty feeling kind of shooter, you go with Titanfall 1. And that's something that I think really sets the two apart as well is their art styles. While 2 is very vibrant, you can see that 1 is dead. Now, let me make something crystal fucking clear. By saying that Titanfall 1's art style and aesthetic looks quote unquote dead, I do not mean that in a harsh way at all. I love how gritty and almost semi realistic the Titanfall 1 graphics are. Well, at least for the time period that it came out in. Titanfall 1's art style is very reminiscent of a lot of like old 360 games, which I think gives it a lot of its charm, but still, almost every single map I have played has almost been extremely memorable. For example, Angel City, which you are looking at right now, came back in Titanfall 2 because it was one of those maps that just worked so well, even despite the art style. It's special how an art style like this can even survive in a completely different game, much more the sequel with an updated, well, not engine, but graphics. And it really just drives the point home how timeless the Titanfall series really can be whenever it's given the passion and love to be a passionate series. And it honestly kind of disheartens me that when it comes to the art direction of games like, well, the only one Respawn's really worked on in the Titanfall series is Apex, that it just kind of falls short for the purpose of, oh, let's entice our players as much as possible. But that's neither here nor there. This isn't a video where I'm just going to shit on Apex Legends for existing. No, I'm going to talk about why I love this game. And the art style doesn't just transfer to the visuals as well, it also transfers to the environment. Whereas we take for granted the designs and the voice lines in a lot of games, as well as the AI, whenever you get into a match in Titanfall 1, it feels like a war. It feels like combat, especially if you're doing the campaign missions. There's massive things happening in the skybox, like in the background footage, you just saw the Sentinel in this map, I forget what it's called, getting shot at with orbital cannons. That's really fucking cool. And I love that so much. And it really pairs well with how much you're going up against the other team because it really feels like an opposing force. And I have to drive that home again because that's really, really cool to me. I love that.
And that is another thing that I do like about Titanfall 1. Whereas Titanfall 2, the skill gap is really, really high, there's an immediate skill ceiling with Titanfall 1 that's pretty quick to reach, even if you're not that good at movement shooters. You can still kind of play it like a regular shooter, but with movement add ons. Honestly, it kind of gives me the same vibes that people have towards Dying Light 1 and 2, where Dying Light 1 is a zombie game with parkour, and Dying Light 2 is a parkour game with zombies, if that makes sense. But Titanfall 2 and Titanfall 1, whilst bearing the same name and a lot of the same concepts, Titanfall 1 executes them in a more focused style. I mean, hell, the goddamn campaign is played through multiplayer matches. I don't really think there's many other games that do that, especially with how well received Titanfall 2's campaign was. But even then, Titanfall 1's was so goddamn cinematic that even though it's years afterwards, the Battle of Demeter still just wrenches on people's heart chains to this day because of the build up and that which you play through. And at least for me personally, I found that when I was playing through with a bunch of people who were completely random and I had no idea who they were, I ended up forming some form of camaraderie, and even in the final moments of Demeter's explosion, had formed a truce because all of us were going to die anyway. What's the point in fighting? And it honestly creates such an interesting atmosphere that I haven't really found in a lot of other games.
And even though I can praise this game to absolute hell and high water, I do have to admit there is a major issue when it comes to the weapons balancing and how the systems of Titanfall 1 work. And there's a lot that I guess can be said about it. Like, there really is. But is any of it constructive? Would I be able to say anything that could maybe make some modder or something? Because God knows Respawn won't. Make it better? No. What I am going to say, though, is it just feels very samey. Whereas in Titanfall 2, you could have a variety of loadouts, with the exception of the locked Titan loadouts. Titanfall 1 embraced its overtly custom ideas and pretty much paid the price for it in the worst way possible, which sucks.
And sadly, that is something that I think Titanfall 1 definitely struggles with, is the balancing of not only their titans, but the weapons. You'll immediately find upon entering a myriad of matches that you kind of just encounter the same thing, but varied a little bit. It's always somebody running the same Titan with the same loadout with the same goddamn missile racks every time, and no one ever swaps off Vortex Shield. I saw one guy running E-Smokes in my entire time playing. One guy. Don't get me wrong, the customization of Titans is really, really cool, and I wish they did more of it. But I also can't help but admit that there is faults to the system. And Titanfall 2 absolutely squashed that by making every Titan, well, a class, such as North Star, Ion, Legion, Monarch, etc., etc., etc. You get the idea. But still, the fact that you were able to customize your Titan that intricately as if it was just an extension of yourself really emphasized that. And complete side note here, the first person Titan animations were cool. When did they ever get rid of them? I mean, yeah, I guess third person's cool, but God, that sense of scale whenever you're picked up by a massive goddamn machine, you can't deny. That's really fucking cool. Oh my god. Okay, so now that we've covered all of our bases with Titanfall 1 as a whole, I can confidently say it's a good game, but you are going to have to give it a little bit of leniency, especially with its age. It's not exactly senile old grandpa in his retirement home screaming about how old boomer shooters were better, but it will absolutely give you that sense of, wow, this is the same thing over and over again. Is there any way to expand on this formula? Is there any way to engage with it in a far more interesting way? And oftentimes you'll find that it's a very shaky question, because you can, it just won't work out the way you want it to. Uh, anyways, that's gonna be it for me. Me personally, I'm gonna go figure out what's in the rest of this skybox, because, them clouds don't look normal. I know it's a simulation, but, I mean, the guy can at least look, right? Alright, see ya. Hey, that's a gun.
Kanye West.